10 years ago, they were thousands of dollars for high quality ones. Now you can get pretty good quality ones or the same quality for a couple $100s.
Mm-hmm.
You're listening to How to Hydroponic with Ryan and Tessa.
This is episode 8 of the series, and today is all about lights. So we're going to share everything from grow lights versus just your regular light bulb, the different types of lights they are out there, the different types of grow lights they are out there, and how to measure if it is going to give your plant enough light.
So when we started in hydroponics, lighting was actually a very complicated topic, and there wasn't too much on it out there. All we knew is lights were really, really expensive. They were tens of thousands of dollars at times, and it became really intimidating when you're looking at what I should get because A, it was really expensive, and B, we didn't really understand what was the difference between these lights. So our goal is to try and give you an idea on like how lights work, as well as the different lights and their pros and cons, so you can determine which one would be best for the hydroponic system you're going to be using.
So I guess to kind of start off is just the difference between grow lights and just regular bulbs in your household. So yeah, pretty much regular bulbs are in your household. They are designed to illuminate spaces for the human eye. So they're actually only going to emit light across a very broad spectrum. And they do this just by doing it with like wavelengths. It's a very broad wavelength that they have, not specific.
Now, a grow light, on the other hand, is going to specify its spectrums on sort of the edges. That's going to be mainly in the red and in the blue, and less around the whole spectrum like your lights you would have in your house. And this mimics the sunlight a lot better, but it also gives the plant the ideal spectrums so they can use all that light to grow properly. And the nice thing about grow lights is they've kind of tailor-made them to be optimal specifically for plants. And that's just something that regular household bulbs can't do.
Yes. So plants rely on light for photosynthesis, and this is a process which they convert light energy into chemical energy, and it kind of fuels a whole bunch of processes for them. So different wavelengths are going to affect different aspects of the plant growth.
So a blue light is going to affect more of the growth with the leaves and the development of foliage. And the red light...
that is going to encourage and kind of promote more of the flowering and fruiting stages of the plant.
So when you start to do a little bit of looking into lights, you're going to start to notice that they'll have colors of light. And this is what those colors are mainly doing. If you're going to be going with more of a blue hue, which is typically a higher K value, higher Kelvin, that's going to be more for your leaf and your foliage. And not so much for flowering.
Yes, and then kind of with the warmer tones, they're going to be more specified into fruiting and flowering plants like your tomatoes and your pepper plants. However, to simplify things a lot, there is also full spectrum grow lights. And these provide both the cool and warm tones for your plants, and these are great for just general growing. And that way it just simplifies it where you don't have to switch out lights. You can just use one from seed all the way to a fruit.
Right. They're just a little less optimal, but they still work very, very good. So now that we've kind of gone into what the different spectrums are, let's explore some of the different lights that you'll come across and the pros and cons of each one of those lights.
Yeah, so the three pretty much, I would say common, or the only three. there might be different variations.
Yeah.
It's going to be fluorescent, LED, and HID lights. And so for fluorescent lights, these are among the most popular among beginners, and that's just because they're way more affordable and they're just more they're, I guess,
easier
to use and abundant. That's the word.
Yes.
These ones are nice because they actually don't produce a lot of heat. And so if you're growing in a very tight space or it doesn't have a lot of airflow, fluorescents are perfect. And again, they're just suitable. They have a good spectrum, and so they're suitable for both leafy greens all the way to the fruiting plant.
However, they aren't quite as efficient as LEDs. LEDs are probably going to be the most efficient, and that sometimes turns people off because they're using a little bit of that power to just produce heat instead of light. They also don't tend to have the same penetration into the leaves because they're not usually as high of wattage. And so that means if you have a plant that's like really dense leaf or canopy, you don't want to use your fluorescents as much because they're not going to penetrate to the leaves at the bottom.
The next one is you have your LED lights, and these are your light emitting diodes. These have gained tremendous popularity, and this is because it's efficient and they're versatile. They have came a very long ways. Before, I would say like 10 years ago, they were thousands of dollars for high quality ones. Now you can get pretty good quality ones or the same quality for a couple $100s.
Mm-hmm. Fraction of the cost. Nice thing about light emitting diodes is that each diode can be a specific wavelength for the plant. So that means that you can really hone in on exactly what the plant wants and just produce that light. But it's not like the entire bulb is just sending that. So it just allows you to be way more efficient with the amount of energy that you're using. And you can just pick red and blue.
Yes. The cons to LEDs is because of their growing popularity, there is a lot of knockoffs and really poor qualities. So not all LED lights are created equally. And yeah, there is a lot of bad quality ones out there that suck in a simple term.
Yeah. And they claim something like 100,000 hours of use or something like that. In our experience, the LEDs haven't outshined for longevity much of the other bulbs that much. But if you go for higher quality, you're probably going to get more longevity.
Yes, and they do produce heat. So if they
Yes.
are in a small area that is compact and doesn't have a lot of airflow, they're going to make it humid. And that's just something to keep in mind.
And finally, and these were the ones that were most popular when we were getting into hydroponics, as well as when the cannabis industry was growing, these were their favorites, are high intensity discharge, or HID. And these are much more powerful lights, and they're kind of ideal for large setups. One of the pros to this is it is a higher wattage, and that makes it much better for dense canopies because it can penetrate all the way down, and it's just way more energy going towards your leaves.
Yeah, and then they are great for large scale plants just because they produce a lot. And then the cons of them is they produce a lot of heat. And so they will really warm up a space pretty quick. And that's going to cause a lot of problems indoors if you don't have the proper ventilation between water temperature, air temperature, and that thing. So there is that.
Yeah, and it also means that you have to keep your plants quite a ways away from the bulb, and that's because they will burn your plant. They're generating a tremendous amount of heat. So you need a lot of space above your plants if you're going to be using HIDs as well. They also tend to be pretty expensive because it's such high wattage and some of the like the ballasts and everything that you're going to need for that. It starts to get very expensive to set yourself up with HIDs, but they do work very, very well.
Yes. So how can you determine between all of these lights if they are actually a good quality and they're going to work and they're actually going to give the plants enough light?
So a very common way, and it's sort of just a very simple way of looking at it, is to use the wattage. So the best way to do this is look at the amount of area that you're going to be growing with and kind of get that down to a square footage. And then you can start to determine what wattage you're going to need.
Yes, and so a rule of thumb is you're going to want 40 to 50 watts per a square foot, and that will give your plants enough light to grow. Anything less than this, they're going to suffer most likely from not enough light, and they're going to get elongated, they're going to be very weak, and they're not going to grow very well.
And of course, this is a little bit of a simplification because there's other pieces of lights, but that's a great place to start. So if you had an area that was like 4 by 4, so 16 square feet, you're going to want between 640 and 800 watts of light.
If you want a more accurate way to measure and you want to geek out a little bit more, you want to find out what the PAR is, and that is Photosynthetically Active Radiation.
So this actually represents the usable light that is in the spectrum that the plant can actually use. So it takes out all the useless light and focuses on the light that's needed for photosynthesis. like this can get fairly complicated, but I would say just as a rule of thumb, aim for around 600 par for a light that's definitely going to be working for what you're growing.
So you can combine these methods when you use wattage and par as a basic guideline, and you can make a very informed decision and get lights that are actually going to work and provide way more or provide enough light for your plants. And especially when you go look at systems that come with lighting, make sure that they provide enough light for your plants, because lots of systems are underlit.
Yes, lighting is often going to be the most expensive part of your hydroponic system. So especially if you buy like a kit, that's where they're going to try and save their money, is by giving you a cheaper set of lights, because that's where it costs them the most. So make sure you look for those details.
Yes. And so that is all you need to know about lights, the difference between grow lights and just regular lights, and then the HID, fluorescent, and LEDs, as well as just how to measure them. I mean, remember, it's 40 to 50 watts. And so per square foot, that's it. And then in our next episode, we are going to share how to find the perfect spot for your hydroponic system. There is a few things that you want to make sure you do so to set yourself up for success.
And if you liked nerding out about these specific things, you want to learn more about hydroponics, I would recommend that you check out the book that we wrote called Indoor Garden Hydroponic Secrets. And you can find that at www.hopeinnovation.ca. We also have worked really hard with our community to develop entire hydroponic kits that focus on everything that we're teaching right here to make ultimate systems that will last you a long time. And you can also find that on the website. That is the Eden Tower. Please, if you can give us a like, a subscribe, a follow, let your friends and family,
which soon will be ours,
let them know about us. And if you could help us grow, we will help you grow.